Now when you do your brain cutting, you're going to cut a fresh brain, and you can see that these sections have been stained for cells. So as you can see, the white areas here, unlike the sections we're using in class, the white areas are the myelinated pathways. So if we look at this, is pretty comparable to our level 1. You see this big white pathway down here. These fibers in here would be the pyramidal decussation. You come up to the top here, you see these two blue areas would be nucleus gracilis and nucleus grassus on the right and left. And then if we move a little lateral, you can see a big fasciculus cuneatus, nice and white, nucleus cuneatus lying underneath it. On the other side, the white fasciculus cuneatus and nucleus cuneatus underneath it. On the slightly more rostral level here, again you can see the pyramidal tracts and decussation down ventrally. Even they're myelinated, but they're just taken on a little dark blue, but they are myelinated. You come up to the top here, you can see two white nuclei right on the midline, nucleus gracilis right and left. Then you see the fiber bundle here, fasciculus cuneatus, and the underlying nucleus cuneatus. Same thing on the other side, that myelinated bundle, fasciculus cuneatus and nucleus cuneatus. And you can see a big stained nucleus here, which would be spinal nucleus of 5. On the other side, you can see the nucleus and a little white area outside of it called the spinal tract 5. Now we're at the famous level 3. Everybody knows what this big structure is down here, the inferior olive, sole source of climbing fibers. Then there's a myelinated bundle ventral to it called the pyramid, full of cortical spinal fibers. Of course, they haven't crossed yet. Then you have two medial bundles here called the medial lemniscus, nicely myelinated. This area out in here, you have the ALS. And then up in this blue area up in here, kind of on the midline, meshed together, staining real dark blue would be the hypoglossal and dorsal motor. Move out here laterally, you can see the accessory cuneate nucleus right there, some of the inferior cerebellar peduncle, that myelinated bundle around it. And then that little sharp blue area right there would be spinal nucleus 5 and the tract just lateral to it. Now here's a good two sections that will kind of show us things on our level 4. The defining characteristic of level 4 is this big myelinated bundle right here and here, here and here, called the inferior cerebellar peduncle, or the restiform body. Now don't forget, associated with the inferior cerebellar peduncle here would be cranial nerve 8. You can see it right here and you can see it right here. Okay, coming in. And the vestibular fibers come in a little more ventral and go underneath the inferior cerebellar peduncle and go in this area right here, the vestibular nuclei. So you can see on this case, here's the vestibular part of the 8th nerve, the ventral one, the dorsal part of the 8th nerve. The dorsal part is going to go into, here's the dorsal cochlear nucleus right here, or perhaps part of the ventral. The vestibular part goes in here, medial to the inferior cerebellar peduncle, goes into the vestibular nuclei right here. So again, here's the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Here's the auditory part of the 8th nerve, the vestibular part of the 8th nerve. What else can we see? We can see some olive here. You can see some pons beginning down here. Let's go down here. We got the inferior cerebellar peduncle on both sides, some of the 8th nerve coming in. Vestibular nuclei here. Here's some olive. Here's some pons down here. Don't forget, right here on the midline right here, you see a beautiful medial lemniscus.